Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparutade sangamadhassa tawara esodavanta bamunjantu satang. This evening, another opportunity to listen, observe how what I say affects you, because you're the one that knows. The knowing is consciousness. And just being aware of the mood or the emotion or the state of mind, being in a Buddhist monastery, in a temple, at this moment, it's like this. And so during these past days, the reflection is encouraging a kind of confidence in just your ability to observe, be the Buddho, rather than someone trying to get something or get rid of something. So it's like a relaxed state of openness, attention. It's attentive, listening, receptive, welcoming. And like all feelings, how can you define feeling? You've got three categories: happiness, unhappiness, and neutral. And this is in the scripture, but those are pretty limited words, because so much of our feelings are indescribable, but we feel them, we know them. So to the ignorant human being, the world is something that you define, something you have names for, that you can identify with. When it becomes something alien or foreign to you, it becomes threatening. When we can define and know that everything is like this, it should be like this, everybody keeps the rules, everybody obeys the commandments, then we have and obeys the law, then we feel a sense of stability and safety. But at this time, in this time in history of this planet and the population of the world, there's so many ominous factors: climate change, overpopulation, wars, nuclear threats, unstable leaders, and so forth, that we react to. We have a certain feeling about, a sense of danger or fear or a feeling of being threatened. The future is the unknown. What's going to happen? What's going to happen with Brexit? And this is an aramana, a state of mind that we can just. We're not trying to predict or say anything about how we want it to be or predict any scenarios ourselves, but we can be aware of the feeling of uncertainty, insecurity is like this, not knowing is like this. And Ajahn Chah's the simple teaching of Luang Por Chah said, "Meine," everything is uncertain, not knowing. But knowing, not knowing, is where the consciousness knows not knowing, knows doubt is like this, knows insecurity, uncertainty is like this. What happens when you die? Like this is oftentimes asked of us to, what is the Buddhist attitude about death? And of course, then there's various stories about reincarnation or rebirth. Other people believe that when you're dead, that's the end, oblivion, or others believe you go to heaven or hell according to how you behaved. But the fact that all of us haven't died yet, we don't know what happens when this body, when this physical form dies. So just take the word death, for example, the English word death. Some people don't, it's not a kind of subject you bring up when you want to have fun and have a party. And then we know, all of us know that in the future the body will die, that's taken for granted, but we don't like to be reminded of it. The idea of extending a lifetime to live forever, some people are very attracted to that. Some people have their corpses frozen so that in the future, when science has discovered a way to recreate life, they can come back. Because death is the unknown, isn't it, at this point? What happens when you ask yourself, what will happen when I die? What do you do? What do you feel? My mind goes blank. Like any question, the form of a question leaves a gap, and you stop thinking for a moment. What will happen when I die? Where will I go? And there's consciousness still observing the sense of not knowing, questioning. So we want to find out from others, what do the Christians say, what do the Buddhists say, the Hindus, the humanists, just what would be told might give us we might agree with what we hear, but the reality of awareness at this moment is we don't know. But there's still consciousness, isn't it, in not knowing. And there's a silence, a stillness. And that's observed, isn't it? That you can recognize. It's like this. But if you want an answer to the question, then you don't notice that. You try to find an answer to the question or ask somebody to tell you what will happen. So the encouragement to trust this knowing, this awareness, sati sampajanya, panya. You say, is this the deathless? Is the sound of silence, is consciousness the deathless? And then the doubt arises, question mark. But do you need an answer to that question? This awareness, consciousness at here and now, where does it begin and end? Where does consciousness die? So it's immeasurable, it has no boundary, no beginning or end. So is that the deathless? Then you want me to say yes or no or what? But now we're dealing merely with words. And what I'm trying to encourage is, you can't describe what's indescribable, but you can know. There's a knowing. You can't imagine the unimaginable, but there's knowing, not knowing, not imagining. It's like this. So in Thailand, for example, one of the great forest Ajahn teachers was named Luang Por Sumedho. He lived in Surin province, and his reflection on the Four Noble Truths I've always found very, very helpful. I've memorized it, and when I do meditation walk, I keep repeating these four noble truths according to Luang Por Sumedho, because the first noble truth according to the scriptures is there is dukkha, there is suffering. And in Luang Por Sumedho's version is the mind, the citta you send outside through the senses is the cause of suffering. So that's the first noble truth, the cause of suffering. This, when you're always looking outward or trying to get something through desire, it's like you're sending your citta outside through thinking, through the senses. And that's, according to Luang Por Sumedho's version, that's the cause of suffering. He put that in the position of the first noble truth. And then the second noble truth is the result. The result of sending the citta outside is dukkha, is suffering. So it's an interesting take on the Four Noble Truths. The third noble truth, it says, when the citta knows itself, that's the path, that's the magga or the path. And then the result of the citta knowing itself is the cessation, realization of cessation, nirodha. Now this is, it's an interesting reflection. Just in my own practice, developing this awareness around when I start thinking, when I start getting caught up in my thoughts or seeking distractions through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. That's like sending the mind, the citta, outside. The thinking process is an object, is a sankhara. You're trying to, by always being caught up in the thinking process, in your thinking habits, then that's the cause of suffering. Or the tendency, the habit patterns we have to distract ourselves, to get away from suffering, to try to find happiness, or security, or safety, or just relief from suffering of some sort. We have to go outside. We have to think. We have to look at something, hear something, listen to something, smell something, taste something. And then the third noble truth, according to Luang Por Sumedho, is jit hen jit, the mind, the consciousness knows itself. What is that? That's the knowing of emptiness, empty consciousness. It's like this. And that's the path, the Eightfold Path, as simple as that. And the result of the consciousness knowing itself is nirodha, or cessation of suffering. Now this is like a teaching, that is, it's not whether it's right according to the scriptures, but it's a reflective teaching by a master who understood the Four Noble Truths. So taking it and reflecting on it in this way, I found very, very useful. Then my encouragement is to trust this awareness, this knowing, because the consciousness is not something that comes and goes, like sankharas. It's here and now, it's what we're experiencing, every one of us is experiencing it right now. But if you're sending your consciousness outside, trying to figure out what that is, trying to think about it, analyze it, or agree or disagree, or just be caught in confusion, the encouragement is to be aware. The confused state is like this. When you feel confused, not knowing what's right or wrong, or what to do next, or so many situations in life are confusing. Doubt, uncertainty. Now the desire is for certitude. I want certainty. Just tell me what's right and what's wrong, and I'll believe you. And many people do that. They'll believe what they're told by some by a religious teacher or by an atheist or a charismatic person of some sort, a guru, because they don't have any confidence in themselves to find out. We see ourselves always in terms of, I'm the ignorant one. Like when I first went to stay with Luang Por Cha, I had the assumption, I'm the unenlightened disciple and you're the meditation master, you're the enlightened one. That's the Sakyaditi, the sense of my self-worth, was that Luang Por Cha knows me better than I know me. He's the master, he'll tell me what to do. So in terms of structure, that's the way it is. He's the head, he's the teacher, he's the experienced bhikkhu, he's the enlightened master. That's conventionally true. And I'm the neophyte, the new monk, the one that hasn't practiced meditation very well. And so on a conventional level, we tend to believe the conventions as our reality. But one thing that one began to really appreciate with Ajahn Chah was that he wouldn't play that game with me. Every time I started to project, you know where I am, you know what's going on, you know me better than I do, he'd have some way, some skillful means to get me to look at my state of mind. Because that's a created state, isn't it? I create the sense of I am the student, I am the unenlightened one, you're the great teacher. What is that? That's thinking, isn't it? Those are all sankharas. All thoughts are sankharas. They arise and cease. So you can't trust them in terms of grasping the thinking process as a means to enlightenment. So what is it that knows sankhara is sati sampajanya satipanya. That's the knowing. Sankharas are sape sankharani cha, sape tamanata. All conditions are impermanent. All sankharas are impermanent. All Dhamma. What does that mean? All Dhamma is when we say all Dhamma is not self, is anatta. That baffles the thinking mind. So there's sankhara. These are the Pali terms, which is condition, phenomena, and Dhamma, which is the unborn, unformed, uncreated, unconditioned. That's here and now. And with sati sampajanya, with our ability to awaken, to put ourselves in that position of attentive listening, opening to the present moment, then universal wisdom can manifest, can operate. We begin to see things in terms of what the way it is rather than the way we think it is. So it's learning to see that you're not what you think. The thinking process is made up. It's created by human beings, whatever language you happen to think with. And it's it has its use. It's, on the conventional levels for discrimination. Its purpose is to define and to discriminate, to describe. And so, I'm not saying you should give up thinking and shouldn't think anymore, because you can't do that. But you can observe thinking. And that which that which observes, what is that? And then you wouldn't like an answer to that question, but it's like in trusting. It's in this the Buddha knowing Dhamma, the awakened knowing of reality. Sape Dhamma anatta. Dhamma is not personal. It's not a created state. But it is knowing. So in these Four Noble Truths, the standard version in the scriptures, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, getting back to the three aspects, there's the statement, what to do about it, the Bhatipata, and the result of doing that, Bhati-wait. So this is the paradigm for reflection, and so much interest now in countries like England and European world, the Western world, that didn't exist 60 years ago. So it's why is it we seek wisdom, and why have we taken interest in a very old religion from Asia? Say the Western Sangha, the Western people here. What is it about Buddhism that intrigues us or interests us? And of course, as a scholar, one might say, I'm fascinated with old languages like Pali, and I'm an anthropologist or an archaeologist. That would be more of interest in the subject of Buddhism. But most of us weren't that interested in the externals, but something resonated in the approach of the Buddha, because it doesn't make demands on us that we can't fulfill, or that we can't investigate and prove to ourselves. And that's why the Buddha established his first sermon, like the first sermon after his enlightenment was the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, according to the scriptures. So what is it that, his first, when he was enlightened in Bodh Gaya, his first thought was, this can't be taught because there's no language for it. How can you teach Dhamma? There's no, how can you, if with words, with concepts, with beliefs. And then according to the the Brahma Sahampati, Brahma God represents the heavenly forces coming to the Buddha to advise the Buddha to go forth for the welfare of those that have little dust in their eyes, that some will understand. So the Buddha's first sermon wasn't about Brahma Sahampati sent me to be a missionary. And he wasn't patronizing anybody or the 5 disciples. But he was sharing his realization with a skillful means, which is the Four Noble Truths. Because suffering, dukkha, is easily observed. How many of us have ever encountered Brahma Sahampati, or Indra, or God, or whatever? We can see that they're heavenly creatures, or not creatures, but divine beings, or they're so high up that they, we either have to believe in them or disbelieve in them. So when something's way beyond the ordinary human being's experience, we're earthbound by our forms, by our human bodies. No matter how, refined we can concentrate and attain various states through samatha meditation practices, we still have to come down to earth with the functions of the body, with the need for food and rest and so forth, so that the human form is very coarse, earthbound form. So our ability to associate with the devas or the brahmas or divine beings, isn't something that is available to most people. Most of us. But when the Buddha proclaimed the First Noble Truth, there is dukkha, there is suffering. How many can deny that? Because that's ordinary. That's banal. And nobody wants it. None of us want suffering. And so we want to be happy, so much of our life we spend seeking happiness by avoiding suffering. So this happiness we do have in life tends to be impermanent. It's not stable. When happiness ceases, we have to look for something else. And that's dukkha, isn't it? That's suffering, wanting something we don't have. How many of you suffered a lot in meditation through getting peaceful and calm and samadhi, concentrated, where the mind is very calm and still and blissful, and then the next day you go back and want the same state? You can't, just through memory of having the previous time, this wonderful meditation, the next day try to get it back. Because the next day is memory, and it's created desire. You remember some pleasant experience you previously had, and you want it again. So reflective meditation, this Maya Sati Sampajanya, is aware of that. The 5 khandhas, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. So, remembering yesterday's brilliant meditation today is memory, isn't it? Sanya, khandha. And this we can know, and Sanya Khandha is anicca, dukkha, anatta. So this is, informing consciousness, consciously informing itself the nature of sankhara, whether it be the body, the feelings, the memories, the emotions, or sensory consciousness. Because consciousness is through the senses, which we identify with, it's like sending the citta outside through objects that we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think, and feel. So just reflecting on the way it is, say at this moment, the body is like this. And so you're not trying to describe how it feels, but just noticing that consciousness is aware of the body, but not thinking about the body or judging the body. Liking or disliking it, it's like this. Sitting is like this. Standing is like this. Walking, lying down, the four postures, the breathing of the body is like this. This is what's happening right now. So you begin to notice the way it is. Breathing is like this. When I say, should I breathe in long or short, or should I do various yoga breath exercises, and then you start, these are questions you might ask yourself, because we don't notice the breathing of our own bodies until it's difficult, when we're short of breath. And we become aware of the breathing, but then we tend to, because it's dukkha, we tend to try to get rid of it. There's something wrong. But ordinarily, who notices their breathing? And we're looking at not in terms of my breathing or their breathing, but it's like this. Breathing in is like this. Breathing out. It's very simple, isn't it? Not complicated. But trust that awareness of it. So like in the Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness, the Kayanupassana Satipatthana is observing the physical reality that we're experiencing is like this. So, I was encouraging people to be aware of the body rather than be the owner of the body. The body is not self. It's a sankhara. We create a self through our thinking habits and memories. So how we look, we become vain, we become obsessed with our appearance, with the color of our skin, with the gender of the body. whether it's too fat or too thin. So this is modern life, emphasis on looking good, looking attractive, make the body attractive, because that's what we identify with. But the awareness isn't about how about the body and its various qualities or characteristics, but as the reality of here and now, it's like this. So that kind of stills the mind, because to just reflect on the body, on the breathing, on the four postures, we stop thinking about it, and we have this sense of observing, of Bhutto, of being the knowing. It is like this. Because this we can know. Right now, your physical body is the way it is. Whether you like it or not, something else. But it is like this, and that's the knowing from conscious, awakened consciousness. So it's no longer seen in terms of what do I look like? Is my posture good? Am I sitting correctly? My breath? What should I do with my breath? And then we start thinking, and the thinking we send the citta outside into thinking about it, trying to analyze or figure out what's going on, rather than trusting in knowing. It's like this. Vedananusati Satipatthana is the feeling. This is a feeling realm. Isn't it? This planet we live on, the bodies we have, are all about feeling, pleasure, pain, neutral feeling, sensation. The senses, that's what we call them, senses, because they're sensitive. And so sensitivity, can the thinking mind describe sensitivity? You got sukha vedana, dukkha matsukha vedana, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral. Those are guidelines for reflection. Usually, we're aware when we're feeling, when physically we're feeling good, healthy, robust, when the body feels good. When it doesn't, then we're aware of it. But neutral sensation goes unnoticed. So I've, in my early years of practice, began to explore neutral sensation in the body, because you begin to be aware of it, that it's here and now, but unnoticed. And it's not about liking or disliking it, but this is the nature of the body, to feel something or other, either pleasant, painful, or neutral. So this is investigating Dhamma Vichaya, the way it is. And of course feeling, the three kinds of feeling are all sankharas, they're impermanent. And you give up sending your your citta outside to claim it, like this pain I have, this unpleasant feeling of being sick, or this kind of feeling of discomfort. I don't want it. We don't want that feeling. So then I start thinking, it's my pain and I don't want it. Well, how can I get rid of it? That's sending the citta outside again into thinking. And through ignorance, we claim it as my pain, and it's something I have that I don't want. I want to get rid of it. But in the Buddho, the knowing, the awakened conscious knowing is seeing, observing. Dukkha Vedana is like this. The body's nature is painful. It's painful to be born. The whole birth process I don't remember being born. But when you see things like this in movies, the woman's always screaming. So it's, that's the nature of the human body, is to feel pain, pleasure, pain, and neutral sensation. This is not personal. It's not me creating pain, or I can start believing that I'm doing something wrong, that I have these physical problems. But that's sending the citta outside again. So the sati sampajanya is not sending outside, seeking answers to questions or solutions to problems, but observing all conditions. Sape sankarani chas, all conditions are impermanent. Then Cittanupassana Satipatthana, the third foundation of mindfulness, is awareness of the state of mind, the mood. And this I found, because I was so caught up in thinking, in attachment to self-views. When I met Luang Por Chah, I'm conditioned to be conceited and vain and self-critical and striving to get something or thinking there's something wrong with me, that I have to do something in order to get it right. Whose fault is it? And then is it my mother's fault or my father's fault? Or is it my fault? So we tend to want to blame something outside ourselves for our feeling of insecurity, emotional fragility, and so forth. But with sati sampajanya, there's observance of that. And as I've remarked before, and this was Luang Por Chah's way of getting me to observe what I'm feeling. Like when the frustration, as I've described, the first year I spent first pansa with Luang Por Chah and Wat Pa Pong, it was emotionally very frustrating, and a lot of negative emotions would arise. Doubting about myself, doubting about whether I could do this, doubting whether this was the right way. And Ajahn Chah would, you try to ask him these questions, he'd always kind of have ways of making you look at what you're questioning. Rather than answering the question, he wasn't trying to convert me or convince me, but encouraging me to observe. To observe the state of mind is like this. Well, this is something I found I could do, because one thing, you're in a situation where you have little opportunity to distract yourself or follow your old habits as a layperson. You're in a totally new situation, a different culture, different environment, with a form that you have to conform to. If you want to stay there, you have to bow and conform to the Vinaya form. And so the awareness then is awareness of, it isn't of opinions one might have about the form, whether you like it or don't like it, or see the point of it, or whether it's helping me or not helping me, or whether it's old-fashioned, or the way the mind will send the consciousness out to think about it and analyze it and criticize it, or just grasp the form without awareness of grasping, but learning to trust this awareness of it. I feel like this feeling, the mood, the emotion, the state of mind that this is like this. Whether it's exasperation, whether it's frustration, whether it's confusion, whether it's doubt, whether it's anger, it is the way it is. And this is direct knowing, consciousness knowing sankhara, not judging it. It's not about right thought, like trying to think always in positive terms, but even wrong thought is a sankhara. So right thought and wrong thought can take us both to understanding, to insight. In terms of the form, we act on the good ones, do good and refrain from doing bad with body and speech. That's the form. The 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, 10 precepts, the Patimokkha rules and all this is a form about action and speech. That's what we've agreed to live within that particular standard conventional form. But in terms of sati sampajanya, sometimes the emotions are like anger or resentment, doubt, worry, rage, whatever how you want to describe particular emotions that arise. According to an ideal, the ideal monk that I had was bhikkhu is filled with loving kindness and compassion. That's a beautiful ideal, but that wasn't what I was feeling. So if I just judge myself according to the ideal, then I'm not a good monk, because I'm feeling angry or frustrated or rebellious. If I look at the ideal, then the reality of negative feelings, emotions, or thoughts or memories, they can only be something bad that we should get rid of, and they're mine. Or from the sati sampajanya level, seeing it in terms of sankhara, it is what it is. And that's a real relief, not to to try to manipulate the mind into just to escape negative thinking or negative emotions, but to be able to have the interest, the faith, the saddha, to develop the wisdom to observe that this realm is about sankhara. The body, the feelings, the memories, thoughts, everything is sankhara. And that which is aware that no sankhara is sankhara is not a sankhara. So that's why it's the escape hatch, this mindfulness path to the deathless, the way to the deathless. So what's the way to the death? Not through sankhara, but through knowing sankhara as sankhara. The jitta knowing itself. This is consciousness. This is awareness. It's here and now. It's with me all the time, no matter what I'm thinking or doing. Even serial killers or crazy people, still the consciousness is the same. That doesn't become a criminal or a killer. But the sankharas can take those various forms. So this is encouraging you to ask yourself, what is it that knows sankhara? And then the question itself stops the thinking mind. There's a kind of listening. And you're not searching for definition from the Pali dictionary or from the teacher. And it's not me, Ajahn Sumedho, knowing sankharas. It's not personal. It's just knowing, consciousness informed with wisdom. All sankharas are impermanent. All Dhamma is anatta, not self. So I offer this as a reflection for this evening.
Annamayang dhammagata sadhukarang dadamase sadhu sadhu sadhu